You shared it too?
Off of
Okay.
Jeff's page.
I sent it to a few people.
Welcome back.
Hey, Jeff, good to see you. You just
You
came
too.
back from out of town, didn't you?
I did.
Tell me about that. I heard it was a beautiful location as well.
It's a great event. We got to start with a little fun here, though, first.
Sure. Go right ahead.
When it's golden, it's good.
Oh, yeah.
Boy starts his day.
Let's go.
This is years ago.
We got this guy. He's pretty unknown. Kyle Yates.
Never heard of this
Kyle
guy.
Yates, never heard of him.
Kyle Yates.
Going over to the Putplex. Play some indoor pickleball. We'll see you over there.
Hey guys, we're live right here. Look at this. We got Michael Stewart. We got Kyle Yates.
Right.
We got Turbo. We got Scott Golden. We're riding in a. This is a helicopter, guys. I've got my headset on. I'm gonna turn this around and see how I
This
look.
is a great time. We flew over Lake Okeechobee and stopped in an island that no one knew about inside of Lake Okeechobee. I think that people can hear me, so I'm talking, but you can hear nothing. And what a great trip that was, Jeff.
Very cool. Well, I just wanted to show have a little bit of fun there.
Yeah, so years ago, I was starting first footprint of indoor pickleball courts. I was sharing an indoor facility. He had 2 soccer fields, and the one soccer field was not used much, so I ended up putting wood over the top of it. So we painted courts, and boom, COVID hit. I wasn't even open for 30 days.
Wow.
And so I flew over Kyle and Mr. Goldie Boy. Yeah, so Scott went over and we had a great time, played. And then when we came back, Kyle had to leave right away. So Turbo flew him on his plane back to the West Coast that day. And there's a big video on him getting onto the plane and taking off.
Very cool.
It was a good time.
Well, those that are just tuning in, we're normally here on Tuesday nights, but I am Jeff Wildy. I'm the host of the show.
Yes.
Coach Mike Stewart, pickleball coach to the stars, is with us tonight. And the great news is, we don't get to hear from Coach Mike. He just kind of sits in his corner and interjects here and there. But tonight we're going to put him on the hot seat, and he's going to answer some questions. So before we do that, let's just let's talk for a minute about Hilton Head. Was excited. That was a national qualifier up in Hilton Head at Palmetto Dunes. We went up, spent a few days in Hilton Head. Absolutely gorgeous area. I had never been. My wife had never been. We stayed in a place just a few steps from the beach, and it was phenomenal. And then we made it to the courts. The courts were nice, really well done. I think they had 24 courts. There were
that was APP, correct, Jeff?
Yeah, it was an APP tournament. Okay. Ken Herman, his staff, and the volunteers did an amazing job. I love the layout. It's set up really nice. You had a few balls rolling. The courts weren't completely divided, but they weren't tight. There was plenty of room in between. They could have made a few adjustments, I think, to make it better. But overall, just a wonderful, beautiful facility.
Good to hear.
And I thought it was great. And we had some fun, played some serious matches, and had a good time up there.
You did. I heard you had a little bit of a battle yourself.
I did, for sure. For sure. But, the great thing is when you have national qualifiers, you bring out some really good talent, and you certainly have some good games. And that was certainly the case with us. So
how was the weather?
Weather was nice. I think there was a rain delay after we left, but it was, low 80s. The second day, Thursday last week, was a little humid. But it was beautiful compared to South Florida. It was nice.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
But people are moving to Florida. It's easy to live here.
Absolutely. Well, the challenge is you get in that consolation bracket. You go to sit down and you get a text, "Hey, you're back on the court." And that was our day on Thursday. So we went back to back to back to back, and finally ran out of gas. But we had a good run.
How many matches did you play? 5?
We played 6.
It's a lot of pickles.
It was. The team that won the silver, we lost to them twice. We took them to 3 games in the first match.
That's
lost the first one, won the second one, or up in the third one, and it just got by us. But the good thing is, I felt like Maria, who's been on the show, and I have played really well in that tournament. And I think the great thing is we're improving. So
we got to say hi to our lovely buddies on the. Well, in the middle of us, in between you and me, Mr. Brett Hutless, one of the nice referees, he's on.
Yes, he was in Hilton Head.
Yeah, he was probably reffing, wasn't he?
He certainly was. I gave him a hard time whenever I saw him. So
Do you know how far back we go, Jeff?
I heard you go back to like
The 70s. We were high
wow,
school buddies. Yeah.
crazy.
HHH, Hollywood Hills High School.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Quick funny story. When I was upstate New York in Buffalo, I was in 8th grade and we were the Spartans. We played baseball, soccer, all those sports, but we were the Spartans. We moved to Hollywood, Florida. And when I joined the teams in Hollywood Hills in Hollywood, Florida, we were also the Spartans. And I hadn't seen a Spartan bag for probably 45 years until Brett Hutless brings one to one of the tournaments to show me. It was great stuff.
That's funny. Now, did you still have your letter jacket from
No,
either of the Spartans?
Nothing. Maybe I have a yearbook. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's dig into some of these questions.
Sure,
We got some
let's
good
go.
questions. And if anyone has any questions, you can post them and I'll try to see if I can pull them out here.
Yes.
But the first one is coaching pickleball the same as teaching other sports? Obviously, you know, it's a different sport, but, you know, why would you say, or why not? Are, you know, techniques?
Mm-hmm. I can tell you that there's a lot of similarities in a lot of the sports for coaching. I've recently taken up the sport of golf. I knew how to golf, but I didn't take it seriously. And there's a lot of similarities with how you use your body and your hips and your hand and eye coordination. I just tell my friends, if you could just throw the ball in the air, I'd probably be a better golfer. It's not moving. So for me, it's, you know, that ball sitting so still. And that's the biggest difference for me with that particular sport. Baseball also very similar. When we were coaching, we wanted the kids to be swinging as the ball's coming to you and make really good contact out front. I mean, obviously reasons, if you're swinging earlier, it's going to go this way. If you're swinging a little later, go down first base if you want to, and you can start aiming where you want to aim the ball. And it's based on being set up first. There's the similarities with pickleball. We always focus about being set up before you hit the ball. And again, my target market is more from the 40s to the late 70s. I'm not teaching young kids. I'm always promoting sitting still longer, being set up, being prepared, being set before you hit the ball. So for what else? I taught soccer, but racquetball, entirely different. You have so much more time to wait for the ball to come off the back wall, then you're following it forward. Now, there are times where there's some similarities where we emphasize being more patient, like waiting for the ball to pass the net so you can make that ATP and come around the side. Being more patient. We've talked about this several times. Understanding the anticipation of being able to hit an Ernie and being able to read that other person ahead of time. That anticipation is huge in tennis, huge in baseball, and a lot of the sports. It's very important. But I'm doing pickleball. I love it. I mean, it's surprising. I met a lady today at a different park, and she did not realize how much she didn't know about the sport. She thought that she was doing great. The ball is going over the net. It's going in. It's in the square. And she didn't know anything about a third shot drop. And you know what I told her? I said, you don't have to have a third shot drop. You can have a great life, enjoy pickleball, have fun, and never learn a third shot drop. It's okay. When I started telling her about round the post, well, why would you do that? And, you know, but that's okay. There's a lot of people that are not going to go to that level and want to have to learn more about the technical and tactical skills about the sport. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, it was funny, you know, you bring up an interesting point about ATPs. I had been playing like a couple months here, and I went back to Maine I think I went in April, and I found an indoor court, and the nets actually overlap. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
So, but on this one occasion, I think we only had 2 nets up, and this guy, you know, there was a ball hit to my left on the other side of the net. And he went way out, and he hits this ball around the net. I'm like, he's like, yeah, it's in. I'm like, what are you talking about? What is that? I'd never seen it before.
Right. So this woman was in shock. You're not allowed to do that. And I said, yes, you can. It's on page 87. I joke around. I say page 87, letter C. It says ATP is legal. And everybody goes, how'd you know that? I go, I really don't. I just made it up. But the point is, Jeff, when we first met, you weren't really doing ATPs. And with your long arms and your long legs, boy, oh boy, it's just a matter of a little bit of bending over. And, people just don't always think about that shot. And that's really where it stems from. It depends who you're playing with and, what your goals really are. Some people will never hit an ATP or an Ernie. I mean, 2 years ago, no one was jumping in the air to do an Ernie. And now every other person that can jump is doing a flying Ernie.
Yep. Pretty crazy.
I'm sure Ernie's happy to see it.
All right, let's get into the next question that was sent out. And this is kind of more of a rules question, but from a coaching standpoint, love to hear your thoughts on it.
Sure.
What do you think about counting the let serve for amateurs? I know they don't count it for the pros.
Yeah.
Do you think it should be the same for both, or do you think a let serve should be played?
I'm not sure who's watching or who's listening, but so they know.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
In tournaments, I might have said the word Alexa, and so she's talking back to me. Sorry about that. In tournaments, the pros and let serves is what you're asking me, right? Should it be the same for anybody that's less than a pro because they play them and one does and one doesn't? But the point is, there's so many rule changes, Jeff, so many, that I would not even recommend that anybody changes that. Just leave it as it is, especially when you're playing. Now, when there's rec play, I always ask before we start, are you guys playing the let or not? Because a lot of people stop play immediately when there's a let serve. And, it's been going on for centuries. In tennis, everyone knew it's a let. You take it over. Mm-hmm. So that's my only suggestion, that I definitely discuss it while I'm coaching with people. So when they come across the let serve, talk about it before you start the game so there's no confusion of, are you playing it or you're not playing it? And again, it's only for tournaments, and it's just for the pros where it's different than the rest of the group. I would just leave it alone, keep it the way it is. I wouldn't change anything. There's so many things changing. You know that. We have our friend that's in the rules committee, and there's more changes to come.
Right. Yeah, that was Mike from Naples, Florida, who asked that. How about your thoughts on a third shot drop versus drive? I know that in Hilton Head, we're playing 4-0 mixed. We seem to have some success driving the ball, as opposed to, the third shot drop, or at least a mix.
Personally speaking, not just as a coach, as a player, all that varies based on who's on the other side of the net. If you're seeing much more success with a third shot drop, I would live there. I mean, statistically, it's proven that more of the third shot drops create much more trouble than a drive, which is more readable. You have more time to set up. You can see that they're driving. A third shot drop, it's unattackable if it's a good third shot drop. If you're a good person up at the net, you can control the drive and you can hit it right back at their feet, or you can do a drop shot and watch them run up and maybe get to the shot, maybe not. So, Jeff, there's really, me personally, there's no right answer. It's really based on who's on the other side of the net. That would make the choice for me if I'm driving more. And like what you said, if it's more successful, keep driving. And have the abilities to mix it up whenever you feel it's appropriate.
Sure. And the extension on that question was, should drops be just that, or can your drops have a little pace on them?
And again, my personal opinion, if I'm dropping the ball, it's going to come up with a loft. The access point is going to drop right over the net. There shouldn't be much pace. If I'm doing a pace shot, it's to pass somebody. So I'm not sure if you're saying, Mike, I have a fast third shot drop and I have a slow third shot drop. Is that what you're referring
I think that's where the question's coming from.
Okay, so
maybe less of an arc on the ball.
On an angle shot, there might be more speed.
Yeah.
Okay. I would agree. Yeah. If you're going across court on an angle shot and you want to put some pace on it, I would agree. A lot of fellows have a really nice spin on that ball. So you're receiving that on your side and you see it coming and all of a sudden it's away. You do have to put a little bit more juice on the ball. I would agree with you. And again, based on who I'm playing, where I'm successful, if I see that I have you moving to the middle often and I can make that spin and have you run and get off the net, I can open up the middle, I'll just live right there. I'll just get you so aggravated. that you want to hit me with the ball. And then I'm in your head, and that's perfect. That's where I want to be.
And I know today here in Naples, this was kind of the first day that we'd seen some wind. We have a little bit from time to time, but today, we had a fair amount of wind.
Everything changes with the wind. And I would stress heavily. I mean, the wind is an equalizer. You know that. So
Right.
it's just as unfair to you as it is to me. And I would always suggest when you're playing with the wind, that's when you want to use your spin even more to enhance that when it lands on the ground and spin the other way. And a lot of people get in trouble with not understanding what to do when it's a windier day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where coaching comes in.
Absolutely. Good
Yeah.
stuff. All right. For some reason, it must be the night for rule questions, but the next one is, there's talk about starting a game 0-0-1. What are your thoughts about that?
I heard about it, and it's changed so many times when it was 0-0 start, then it became 0-0-2. And quite frankly, a lot of the newer players, they want to see how simple can we keep it. When you explain to them what 0-0-2 means, they might say, well, wouldn't I want to be on that side of the court? And again, with all the rule changes, I think it just should stay the same.
That's the second part of the question. Should 0-0-2 actually start, if I'm looking at the server, should they start on the right?
Yeah, sure. And again, you're starting the game, and the newer folks that we all get to know, they want to understand, why is it 0-0-2? Because you're considered the second server. So there's no confusion on this side. There's not going to be another server that starts the game. And for some newer people, that confuses them. Why is it not 0-0 start? Somebody somewhere along the line, Jeff, on a task force said, let's make it 0-0-2. So now if they go back and switch it again to 0-0-1, some of the people, what are you talking about? I just learned 0-0-2 and I got that. So I wouldn't change it. But if the rules committee says this is the new rule, then we're just going to have to learn that.
Well, I kind of like 0-0-2 because if you think about it, if you're giving up serve in a tournament, it's only in theory, one person serving.
Correct.
And you get it. Now it would be a big disadvantage if the other team serves, had two servers to start the game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next question. Should there be a super senior pro division at 65 plus? Do you think there would be enough top level players to compete? Maybe, on a limited basis. I know you see it in some of the bigger tournaments, but, should that be a bracket?
I know there is a super seniors, right? There's a whole, and I also know there's much more than talk going on with the seniors to have a seniors tour. And that would be something you'd address with them, because there's a committee being put together, if it's not already done, where the APP is 100% on board with that. And I don't know if this is public information, but it will be soon. And that the seniors will be getting a little bit more attention at the tournaments. It won't be just about the young kids anymore. So should there be? I say yes, there should be something for the seniors, the super seniors. I think that tournaments should recognize the referees. I think that there should be more pro-ams at tournaments where you might take away maybe something with the singles day and make it a pro-am referee, where let the senior pros ref the matches and let the other, listen, you're laughing at me. It's going to happen. It'll happen. You'll see it, because think of the majority of the money that comes into a tournament, Jeff. Where does it come from?
It comes from the amateurs right now.
It's the amateurs. It's not the high-level players. The vast majority of every tournament is the 4-0s and less, or the 4-5 and to the beginners, to the amateurs, like you said. That's where most of the money comes from. So why not pay more attention to them? How exciting would it be for a 2-5 or a 3-0 player to play a match with the pro, to say, I'll never get to play that. Oh yeah, your next match is with John Sperling. What? I get to play John Sperling? That's crazy. Just don't put me with Mircea. He's too crazy. I'm kidding. Mircea's a good friend of mine. I'm messing around. But those guys are a great tag team. If you saw, they posted something at a tournament where John was looking at Mircea and Mircea was just facing the other way. And he says, listen, there'll be a brand new, whatever it is. What do you think's happening in this picture? So Mircea's looking this way and John's looking at him. And someone said, oh, sorry, Mir, I won't hit one of those out again. And Mircea says, it's not brain surgery, John. Just get it in the court. And they're not talking. And so many people responded. It was a riot. If you didn't see it. And, he showed who won and who won what and what comments won. It was a lot of fun.
That's
Those
great.
two guys are both characters. They're great guys.
Good guys.
Just phenomenal athletes.
Well, to go further, and I think the Nationals this year are a little bit of an anomaly.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the numbers, very interesting. The super seniors, there's only one in the men's category registered. So they do have it in the Nationals, but there's only one team registered.
At that age group.
65 plus. So if you look at the numbers for the Nationals, you have 16 teams, and we're talking about the kids.
Right.
16 teams in mixed, 9 teams in men's, and 8 teams in women. If you look at the U.S. Open, again, there were 16 in mixed. There are 35 in mixed at the U.S. Open.
Wow.
30 men's. There are 9 men's in Indian Wells. And then finally, women's, it's 2-1. There are 8 registered. There were 16 in here in Naples. So, obviously a different situation. As a matter of fact, in the pros in Las Vegas this weekend in singles, there are 45 pros men in singles in Las Vegas.
Wow.
This
That's
weekend.
Great.
So pretty
Have
crazy.
you seen where they play in Las Vegas?
I have not.
It's on a rooftop of one of the hotels.
Oh, is that where they're doing it? I think I've seen those pictures before, but
it's great. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Do they get wind up there? They probably do. Huh?
I imagine so. I haven't played there. I've seen it enough times, and I know the hotel, but I've never gone there to play pickleball.
Really cool.
Oh yeah.
All right. The next question was referring to a Tyson video, but where Tyson changed his grip for a shot. What? Obviously, this is probably not a 2-5, 3-0, 3-5 question, but would you change your grip for certain shots?
So I want to address that. I didn't see the video, what Tyson's changing his grip in, but I know that the folks that I coach, I want them to keep one grip. And I typically live with the handshake grip, or we'll say, has a letter V in your hand, that continental grip, not to be changing the grip. Some people, I don't want to name names, but they'll change their hand in the middle of a play. They'll literally try to throw their paddle and catch it and use that weaker hand to make a shot. So, Jeff, why do you think they'd be doing that? They're not changing.
I have no idea. Who would do something like that?
Why?
Coach?
Why? Because you're late. You know that because you're late. You're already late. You haven't set yourself up. You didn't anticipate properly. So you figured, well, I don't really like my backhand too much. So let me try to see if I can catch the ball in my weaker hand and try to make a shot with my uncoordinated hand. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I don't teach changing hands. Now, there's some people that they are preferring a two-handed backhand. And there's some people that have a tennis background. They're accustomed to changing from a continental to maybe Australian grip. And there are people out there that play the whole time with an Australian grip, and that's their backhand. It works for them. I can't tell you that I would suggest that you change your grip. I wouldn't do that. That's just my way of style. That's not my style. I'd like you to have one less thing to think about when you're learning the sport. Less is more. So I would always suggest keep that one grip. Now, if you're struggling with making a backhand, I might show you where your wrist should be or where your hand should be when you're making contact with the ball, but I wouldn't tell you to change your grip. And just there's too much to learn when you're first starting out, and to add to it, I wouldn't do that. But the pros, they can do anything. I mean, I've seen Kyle hit a shot with the edge of his paddle over the net. Forget about that. I mean, these guys are just they're at a different level. The shots that they make, we wouldn't even think of making those shots. Behind the legs, behind the back, running backwards. And these guys do it like a normal forehand or backhand that you would do. But they're elite athletes and they can do that. So no, I wouldn't recommend changing grips, but I can understand why some people might do it.
Right. Well, we were in Hilton Head last week. Zane, I got there at 7:00 and Zane was out hitting balls at, before I got there. And obviously, guys like that continue to work on their craft and get better and better and better. And
I remember watching Michael Jordan in a video, and he said, and all the shots I make. You know how many times I go to these games 3 hours before everybody else gets there to bounce every single inch of the court, because no one keeps track of all the misses I make, right? They only keep score of all the great shots I make. But he said, I go out there before everybody. I shoot more than everybody. I practice more. So look at, you just brought up a great example. He's out there doing his work, do the work. And then there's some people that are just sick athletes. They don't train at all. They just come out there and destroy everybody.
Absolutely.
You don't know. Some people, it doesn't come as easy for some people. And physically, it's much tougher when you get older. Your body says, okay, go get that shot. In your head and your feet say, no way, just say good shot. Give it up.
Yeah, when you bring up that story, I always think of a kid in high school. He could throw 90 miles an hour, in smoking a cigarette with work boots on.
Wow.
And, it didn't seem like he worked very hard. He might have, but just kind of the way it is.
It's similar in this sport as well. I mean, think of those kids that were always on the honor roll. They're skipping school. They're not showing up. They're in trouble, but they said, Mike, it's boring. Class is boring. And they'd show up for tests.
Mm-hmm.
So you just don't know. And as you can see, Zane does the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So next question, what does it take to become a sponsored player, Coach?
There's different types of sponsorships, and there's different companies that offer different types of sponsorships. And from my experience, and I became a sponsored pro because I earned my way up to that, getting those pro credentials. You have to do the work. You have to win the tournaments. You have to get on the podium. I don't play a lot of tournaments, and I want to start getting back into it again because I still have good health and I can get out there. We're going to go to, Stephanie and I are going to go to Pictona. Phenomenal facility for the people that haven't been there. It's gorgeous. I mean, everyone can find something wrong and everything, but the covered courts, the kitchen, name of the restaurant there is called The Kitchen, beer, wine, good food, healthy food, locker room, showers. And now he's building another Pictona 2 with a stadium.
Wow.
I don't know how many thousands of people it's going to hold. 2-bedroom, 2-story building on that property with offices. And it's just a phenomenal vision. I mean, he could easily hold the U.S. Open at that facility when he's done with Pictona 2. And they've already broken ground, so they started on it.
So will that be adjacent to what they already have, or is it somewhere else?
It's literally right next to it. So
Wow.
if you've been there, when you walk through the building and you go outside, the court's in the very, I would say, most southern part of the property. There were a few ball fields just further south. I mean, connected right to the property. So they just bought that property and they've already gotten approval. I think they started clearing the land. They got approval to get started. Yeah. So I'll see him this week and I want to talk to him some more.
So in other words, you have to be probably at least a 4 or 5.
No.
To get sponsored?
There's different types of sponsorships. You just might be an ambassador for them. You might be holding tournaments somewhere and you go get Selkirk stuff and you'll wear Selkirk equipment and you may get, I don't know, I'm just using Selkirk as an example. Sure. Every company runs their company differently. And depending where you are successfully, I would say you have a different kind of agreement, maybe a contract, maybe a year, maybe a 2-year contract. And it varies based on what you and the company had agreed upon. There's some people that are just, I'm going to use Selkirk just because it's easier for me. They use the name Selkirk because they're at these different parks and they coach and they help and they sell paddles for them. And, you know, the industry I know is changing where in the past you could buy paddles out of people's trunks. Those days are going to be gone soon. They're on their way of going out now. I mean, everything has to be, you have to have your tax ID. If you're running a business and you're selling items, that's what everything will have to go that way. You know, the IRS wants to be in everybody's pocket. You know that.
Yeah.
So there's different types of relationships that people have with companies. And to be a sponsor pro, somebody might get a salary for $50,000 a year and somebody else might get $2,000 a year. And like everything in life, it's negotiable depending on what you expect to give back for the company. There's some commitments that you have to have. I know with some of the guys, they're paid from PPA or APP, and you should only be playing in their tournaments. But you know, everything's negotiable. It's a phone call.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Very cool.
It's going to change again. There'll be more people coming in. You know the bigger names are here already. Look at Nike's putting on camps with Simone. You know that.
Right. There's one coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yep. Right.
So let's do a spin on your favorite question, Coach. So you like to ask about pickleball finding our guest.
Yes.
What if, for instance, pickleball never found you? What
Right.
would you be doing, do you think?
At the time that pickleball found me, I was running a company, and that's what I did most of my life. I my business management degree, and I built businesses and sold them, built businesses, and I was 5.5 years into building this other business, military organization, and I landed in Sebring, Florida. And when I went there to go meet the people where I was going to live, they said, "Hey, Michael, there's a tournament here." I go, "Oh, okay, let's go." So I'm in my golf cart and I see all the charts up on the board. And I forget, we drove by a tennis court. I said, "Oh, there must be more tennis courts down there," because I saw the boards up. And when I go down there, I saw this huge picture of a pickle. And I looked at these courts. I go, "What is that? What are they doing?" It's called pickleball. And I said, "That's not a real name, is it?" Yeah, they're playing pickleball. So I had no clue, but I looked at what was happening. Look how small this court is. This is so much easier than tennis. And it happened to be, at the time, Coach Russ. I don't know, a lot of people know Coach Russ, and he's been known to run lots of different tournaments. He's doing less, but he is in North Carolina and puts something together every year, has some of the top pros go there. And I started looking at it, and I thought, geez, I can do this. I'm not too old for this. And I borrowed a paddle, and I had everybody yell at me for the next 3 days. "You can't stand there. You're not allowed to be up there. Get back there." And all these women were busting my chops, Jeff, for days and days and months. And then finally I said, "You know what? I'm going to go buy a paddle. I have my own paddle." And it might have been like a Z5 or something, beginner's paddle. And it just kept going. And then someone that I met there says, "Oh, I live in the Villages." I go, "Oh, what's the Villages?" I had no idea. I got invited to go over there. I met a bunch of other people. The one guy said, "Hey, do you want to play in a tournament?" I go, "Yeah, sure. I don't know." So I go to meet him, and we played at a place called, I can't think of the name of the park, but it was called the Geezermeister. I go, "That's me. I'm a geezer." So I ended up playing there, met a whole bunch of new people, and then met somebody from a different paddle company. And I said, "Who do you have in this area?" He goes, "Nobody. Would you like to be a sponsored player?" I said, "Sure." And that's kind of how it started 6 years ago. Not a long time.
So, Coach, you didn't answer the question.
How did it find me?
No. If it hadn't found you,
What would I be doing?
be-
I'd still be running a business. I'd be
Okay.
running business to build it up, to sell it. That's what I did most of my life. I'd be in
And
some kind of business. I don't know.
You'd probably have a piece of you missing for sure.
I have to tell you that I love the part of the moving and the relationship and the possibility of being much stronger in any sport. And I told you before the show started, you were going to come to Florida and you're going to either play golf, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you found pickleball. Then you gave up golf, and now you're a pickleball nut. I've now become a golf nut. And it's so tough for me because it's challenging, because the ball doesn't move. And I always tell my girlfriend, I wish you could just throw the ball up in the air. I'd probably play better. But it's so challenging, and there's a lot of similarities with that sport, with pickleball and golf. And I'm hooked. I really am. The places that we go to, almost all the developments either have pickleball or want pickleball. And almost all the private subdivisions that maybe have old tennis courts have all become pickleball courts. And having said that, I'm very, very grateful that I found pickleball. And it has changed my life entirely. I've made wonderful relationships throughout the United States with lots of people that are also hooked. It's a hooking kind of sport.
Yep. Well, I know that I was in the golf business, I don't know, about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it was declining,
No kidding.
across the country. A lot of courses were being sold and, overgrown. And, it's just a sport that had hit its peak. And as this was, like I say, 8 or 9 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
but was declining across the U.S.
I don't
So
know
it's
if I had
kind
my
of
brothers
interesting.
in high school, if I didn't pick up baseball or racquetball or wrestling, I would have loved to try golf as a kid. I probably would have been a much better golfer as I got older. It's not like I'm a hacker, but I put a lot of pressure on myself, just like you do, to the 90s. I want to try to see if I can shoot at 80. And I think I shot at 84 once. So that's my best score so far.
Nice.
Yeah. So I love it. I'm loving life. And I want to do as much as I can to continue to help pickleball grow.
Coach, tell us, I know you've coached pickleball for a little bit. Tell us a couple of good stories about your teaching and, somebody you've helped or, something like that.
Sure. One of them was very interesting. It was recently that I was asked to go play in a tournament with someone I never met. And it was South Florida. And begrudgingly, I went because they said, "Oh, this guy's a 5-0. You sure?" Yeah. He's playing in 5-0. So I asked someone else that knew this guy, and they go, "Well, he's a 4-0, maybe on a good day, a 4-5." So I'm going to go meet this guy and have a blind date to play against other 5-0 players. But the greatest part about it was I met someone else that ended up being a perfect fit for me. So now I'm going to have a pickleball vacation in Costa Rica after meeting this other person. And I didn't realize how many people are taking pickleball trips to other places. I hear about it all the time. So now I get to have mine. So next year, February, I'm going to go to group, couple of, 10, 12 people, and do a week in Costa Rica. And they'll be coaching pickleball 2 hours every day with all those folks. I'm excited. We went there to check it out. Stephanie and I went there, and we were on these courts, Jeff, and there was howler monkeys in the trees around us just going, and they're not big, but they're loud. You think they're cute like baboons. One day we had to stop play because a scorpion came on the court. So I would never have experienced any of this stuff if I wasn't in the pickleball world at all. So these are the kinds of things that happen. I've met very avid athletes from, I coached these 4 women this one day, and from 65 to 75 years old, extremely high level players. And we just were able to connect because I talked to them like I talked to younger people that were super athletic, because in their minds, they're still very, very athletic, and they didn't want me to baby them. And it's just so funny because I was hesitant because I always have my prerequisite. When I coach, I have my 2 rules. What are my 2 rules, Jeff? You remember. What's rule number 1?
Head down.
No, you have to have fun, Jeff.
Oh, okay. My bad.
One.
I always have fun.
You have to have fun. If you're not going to have fun, just go home right now. So I told these ladies, and they go, "Oh, we like this guy." And then rule number 2, I told them, in case they didn't see it, look at rule number 1. So we started having fun. And I have my system that I use when I coach. And part of it is staying low, using your body, sitting on the couch. So the funny thing was, my couch is down here and their couch is up here. And I said, "Ladies, what about the couch?" And they go, "Michael, we have different furniture than you." I go, "Oh, okay, that's funny. I like that," right? So it just continued. And the whole time we were laughing, and I was beating them up, and I was teaching them things. And they said, "Michael, we paid the pro that where we live here much more than we're paying you. How come he didn't teach us about these things?" I said, "It doesn't make him less of a pro or me more of a pro. I teach differently. I just seem to connect with these ladies in such a way where they booked 5 more coaching sessions right away." And that's the difference, where there's phenomenal players, Jeff, that are just not great coaches. And there's good players that are phenomenal coaches. So it varies. And we get to coach people. And you know what? I have a servant's heart, and I love to give back. And I love to coach people because I love it when I get that text message. I call, "Mike, I did an ATP today," and it just made their day. Silly stuff like that for most people, but it meant a lot for them because they never knew what it was. Just like you said earlier in the show, ATP, what does ATP stand for? Why would you do that? So I get a lot more. Someone told me this when I was younger, and it stuck to me like a tattoo. To receive a gift is truly a pleasure, but isn't the giver receiving the treasure? So it's my gift that I get to help other people enjoy the sport more, engage more, feel more confident. A lot of times where I live, at PGA Verano, we have 27 courts. So you can be really far away from everybody and not be noticed because you're really not confident. And then we finally pull them in. And now they're playing in our round robins, and they're playing 2-3 times a week with all the rest of the other people and having a blast. After play at night, people are sitting around, maybe having a cocktail, a snack, and it's extremely social. And when I first got here, listen, there was a list of 10 people that we started an Excel sheet with. We're up to 250. And there's probably 100 people that aren't here back from, the snowbirds, as they say, that are playing by themselves. And when they get back, that list will grow again. And it's very exciting. It's a lot of fun. And it's wonderful experience. I went to a different park today to meet someone else. Her sister lives here.
Really?
I never met her. And we just started talking. She goes, I heard you live at, yes. Do you know this person? Well, of course. That's my sister. No kidding. She goes, Michael, I'm going to play in a tournament soon. I'd love to have you help me. I said, why would you want me to help you? You got people that coach you all the time. She goes, I've taken their coaching sessions, but I played with you today. And you're so calm in your game. She goes, can I have that? I said, I don't know. Maybe you can. It's up to you. Just people get to make choices. And when they realize I can make the same type of shots and not move as much. Yeah, most of the time. I mean, we watch the pros and they're all over the place and they fly in the air and make shots. And I teach people to stay on their feet longer, move less. I'd love to have your long, long arms and your long, long legs. You work with what you got, right, Jeff?
Yep, for sure. Well, you bring up PGA Verano.
Yes.
7 weeks from this week, you have a big tournament coming in.
Yes. Actually, it's an APP tour finishing up here in Port St. Lucie. It'll be a big turnout. There'll be a lot of people. I mean, yes, Nationals is at the same time. There's another local tournament, but I'm pretty sure Ken puts together a 5-star tournament. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's closing in on almost 600 players at this point, which is really cool.
Big number, but we have 27 courts. You could probably even do it with more people. And you know what it depends on? Really good volunteers. Someone that really understands how to run a tournament, right? And good weather. The rest is here. The facility is superb.
Yeah,
I know a lot of the pro tennis players on the East Coast of the United States. And other than one private community that's a little bit further north, south of us, eventually they'll have 30-something courts. They don't have them now. They're growing. But for 27, dedicated courts with a championship court, and the restrooms are right there, and it's a great location. Really, it's right off I-95, exit 120.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, Coach, I put your information up. Obviously, it's scrolling on the bottom.
Yes.
But I know you're doing some video coaching for those people that aren't in the area.
Yes.
So obviously they can get in touch with you with the number there.
Yes.
As well as the email.
Yes.
So what?
I got really lucky, Jeffy. I was with you in Georgia, right?
Right.
We did that Atlanta Open.
Yep.
And I met a couple there, super nice couple. They live up north. So I did a little video with them, and they go, Michael, we're coming to Florida. I go, when? Oh, we have a place in, I think he said Fort Myers. So he'll be here in a month and a half, and he'll stay with me for 2 days, and I'll beat him up for 2 days. That's pickleball.
Right. That's great.
So engaging. People are so nice. I mean, I don't care what the sport is. I don't care where you live. There's always going to be the few that aren't so happy, but I have to say that 98% of everybody, maybe 99%, have been so nice, and so welcoming. As well as I do. If I come to the west side, I stay with you. You come to the east side, you stay with me. And it's like that all over. I'm speaking for lots of people that do the same thing. Very reciprocal. And we're going to start doing some private communities against other private communities that can also, have dedicated courts and have challenges against one community against another. We're going to put that together shortly. It'll be a lot of fun.
Coach Brett did say it's at Darling Park, and it's not on the roof of the Plaza Hotel this weekend. So,
so it always has been on the Plaza Hotel roof, and he would know.
I guess maybe too many balls rolled off the edge. I don't know.
Maybe. I'm pretty sure they have that figured out though by now.
They didn't lose pros over the edge. You don't think?
Nah, thank you, Brett.
Well, Coach, appreciate this. We got some good questions answered,
Good,
and
good.
I'm sure that you'll continue to answer questions as the weeks progress. But I know we've got another great guest on next week, and we'll be back 6 days from tonight. We'll be back on Tuesday night next week.
Night. Yes, sir. And I
So-
just want to throw it out there that if somebody's out there and has a question about anything, please just send me a message. I don't care how you do it. You can make a phone call. You have my number out there. I'm old style. You can call me. We'll talk on the phone. I have people that call all the time and say, Mike, this is what's happening. Listen, just meet me on the courts. Jeff, to physically show somebody. But if you have a question, you want to call me, please don't hesitate to call. That's what I'm here for.
Coach, thanks so much. Great show. Appreciate all your insight.
Everything you do, I really appreciate you.
Hey, we'll see you again next week.
Stay healthy.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a good night.
Have a great night. Bye.